Leo was born July 26, 2019. It was a normal birth. He did have the cord around his neck, but the doctors acted very quickly and they just felt like he had aspirated, he had some meconium in his lungs, and that was about it. So he did go to the NICU, but at the time it was presumed this was just a minor thing. We'd be there a few days and that would be it. And after 19 days in the NICU, we went home. And that's sort of where the journey began. We were sent home with this healthy, happy baby boy, and very quickly he turned into a very uncomfortable baby boy who was constantly crying, constantly in pain, and we really didn't know why. And feeding became more and more difficult. And ultimately, he became failure to thrive, so he just was not gaining anymore, and we weren't seeing him hit any developmental milestones. And so they sent us to the Children's Hospital where they did an MRI, and we were told that Leo had a stroke at birth and that he had hydrocephalus, which is enlarged ventricles. After you're given such big news, you kind of think like there's going to be this big plan, but there really isn't. It's go home and you're going to get connected with an occupational therapist and a physiotherapist, and we're going to just watch and see how things go. And so I just decided that all the outcomes were going to be positive and I was going to find a way to make that happen.
So Claudia and Dominic contacted us earlier in 2021. They found us through a group where a couple had a young child who was a patient of ours with similar types of injuries, similar types of symptoms to what's going on with Leo. So they immediately had an understanding that there was more than they were being told that could be done for these types of problems. So what happened with Leo was his brain had massive swelling. The entire brain was essentially swollen, hydrocephalus. There was a lot of fluid, a lot of pressure in the brain. And it was largely due to ventricles that hold cerebrospinal fluid and make cerebrospinal fluid. So these things were expanding and essentially pushing into the other areas of the brain that deal with feeling the body, moving the body, speech, even regulation of our vital functions, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, digestion. One of the earliest signs they saw with him was reflux. Things were coming up from his belly. And that's pretty typical with some kids, although with Leo, it seemed a bit off, and the reflux was due largely to the swelling causing challenges with certain parts of his brainstem that regulate digestive function. So this reflux would never be under control. They would have to have tubes going in through his nose, down into his belly to relieve that reflux, the acids from the stomach and all of that, because they were causing problems. And they found it was due more to brain injury, not typical baby development issues.
So the first time I connected with Dr. Trayford, I felt like he was someone that immediately understood exactly where we were at, exactly what needed to be done. It just felt right away like it was the right place for us, and it was exactly what I was looking for.
These types of cases are not seen in many offices because these folks are told that you're as good as you're going to get. Once you hit a certain point, that's it. You just shouldn't expect any more. We just know that's not true. When you're talking about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and grow over time, there's always a next level to get to, whatever that may be. And earlier intervention is really key. A lot of people are going to kind of wait and see what happens, particularly in the young ones. But when you have a brain that's been injured, there's likely not going to be typical stages of development. So we need to facilitate those stages of development. So we come in and what we do is work with the foundational neurological underpinnings of proper brain development. And that's where we have the greatest probability of being able to get to these further stages if we're able to do that.
There were so many things, and we went home and a lot of his therapists were thrilled to see the changes in him and saw the benefits as well of what this clinic could do for kids.
So as the saying goes, it takes a village, and we're part of that village. Leo and his family are part of that village, their extended family, their community, their therapists, everybody's a part of that village. We certainly can't leave out his big sister Sienna, because the interaction with their peers, their siblings, is probably the single most important thing when it comes to neurodevelopment, because they're mimicking and mirroring what all of these people are doing. So in Leo's case, he has one of the best role models and therapists in his sister Sienna.
Having a support system is so important, and it's such a special thing to have. We're so grateful that we have that. So, the one thing that I would encourage anyone to do is gather a tribe that they can confide in and rely on for help and support and resources.
So while we have no ability to predict the future, we have great hope for Leo. He's just about to turn 3 years old, and he showed tremendous gains up until this point. Albeit assisted, he's able to stand and bear weight now for a minute or more at a time, where he couldn't do it for 10 seconds or even 5 seconds previously. Now he's able to lie on his stomach and lift up his head. Those are the initial stages of development that set people up for things like getting on their feet and walking. If we can't lift our head, there's no chance of us ever walking. So the fact that he can actually lift his head now under his own power is a very positive sign that he may get to the point where he can push up, turn over, crawl, and hopefully get up and walk someday.
So Leo is, one of the most happy, easygoing kids. He's so resilient through everything. He's engaged, he's happy to be there. It makes this journey that much easier. It's honestly such a blessing to have him. It's such a different journey. My daughter made me a mother, but Leo made me a different person, and I wouldn't change that for the world.